Ghana 4, my name is Benjamin Akapo. I welcome you back on the AM show as I share with you my blunt thoughts. I say them as they are. Some people don't like it. It is what it is. Because if you want to face the facts, the reality, you will see that what I say is nothing but the truth. And we need that truth. And today, I just got a bit, I wouldn't say sentimental, but it got me reflecting. As I share with you the title of my blunt thoughts, you will understand why I'll share with you a quote from the Bible. The title of my blunt thoughts today, An Ailing People and a Sickly Economy, the Cost of Misleadership. An ailing people and a sickly economy, the cost of misleadership. When I selected this title, it reminded me of that quote from the Bible, Matthew 7, 9 to 11. You know what is said there? And I'm going to paraphrase this out of my head. It says, which one of you as parents will give your child a stone when they ask you for bread, or a snake when they ask you for fish? Which one of you? You tell me, as a parent, if your child asks you for bread, will you give them a stone, knowing probably it will break their teeth? And if they asked you for fish, would you give them a snake? So even we as humans, bad as we are, know what is good and we give it to our children. But how come when it comes to leadership, or should I say, qualifying it properly, misleadership, what we have in this country, it is always evil that is visited on the people. And I don't mind, throughout this Fourth Republic, tell me, which administration has really fared so well, anything close to even the standard we had set by the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah? We have moved from bad to worse consistently. And it continues ad infinitum, unabated. Which is why this morning I also want to reflect on foolishness. Yes, foolishness. Albert Einstein says, a foolish faith in authority is the worst enemy of truth. If you have foolish faith in authority, without thinking through what must be thought through, that is the worst enemy of truth. Again, we have Alice von Hildebrand who says, an old fool is the worst of all fools. Some of us have grown. We have lived through the hard times, but remain fools. And I say this respectfully because sometimes, in Ghana, we have such thin skin. We think when someone says you are being unwise about something, it's an insult. But you can be wise and still be unwise in a certain instance. It's like Peter. Oh, you are the Messiah. Who do you say I am? You are the Messiah. And then next minute he's saying, God forbid that should happen to you. Jesus would say to him, get behind me, Satan. We have been old fools, all of us. Because you know why? We keep making the same mistakes. That is why I talk about an ailing people, a sickly economy, because we choose the very worst to provide the very best. And you know what happens? It's like that computing term, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. What you put in is what you will get out. So why do we keep up like this? I start like this because election 2024 is just around the corner. And I am a bit frustrated because even if you look at the options, it doesn't make for very good reading, does it? Let us awaken. Let us think, people of Ghana. Because if you imagine, this first bit I'm starting from today, some politicians, like Samuel Mbura, my colleague on the political desk, was actually stating this morning, they have the dialysis machines in their house. They've stashed away enough wealth. They can afford to have it no matter the number of times in a week. Now, one way, how about you? You're suffering from diabetes, blood pressure, some heart disease, whatever the case may be. It's affecting your kidneys and you need it, but at what cost? And can you afford it? Are you thinking about that? Are you ruminating? Or are you just, maybe the MPP chame fruma. Yeah, ye chame fruma now. Or, me dear, our family, we are NDC. We vote this way. Sir, do you use your conscience when you vote? We must contemplate those hard matters because where we are going as a country, like recently Professor Stephen Adey, like recently Dr. Ishmael Yamwa have said, if we are not careful, we're slowly going down that slope. And it may get to the point where your future and my future may not even exist. But let's come to the slides. This renal unit thing has become such a problem, and some of us are hammering on it because, like I said, today it is someone else. Tomorrow, it could be you. You look at the Ministry of Finance, which has now approved the disbursement of 4 million Ghana cedis to support our patients in Korle Bu. After how long? Over 5 months. And even when the directive was given, next slide, for it to be opened, it wasn't adhered to. Lives have been lost. Now, according to the health minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, dialysis should be included on the National Health Insurance Benefit Package. When did you arrive at this epiphany, Mr. Health Minister? At what point? I don't want to go back to the vaccine shortages and, child vaccine shortages, COVID-19 mess. When did you come to this realization? Why do we always have to wait till it is at the worst point before we react? We're so reactionary instead of proactive in this country. The lives that have been lost, our president said it during COVID. We know how to bring back the economy, even that we are not able to bring it back. But what we don't know how to do is bring back life. How do you bring back those lives? And it was because you failed on your job. Because Korle Bu and other places failed on their job. Because people couldn't afford the high cost of staying at private facilities. You slept on your job, sir. You did. And the deaths of those people, it falls on your head. Subsidies should be granted to Korle Bu based on proposals made. Review tariffs to ensure the sustainability of service to avoid the recurrence of the renal units closure. We are in this country. Ghana ni woyo. Mark my words. Watch and see whether at some point we don't get back to the same situation. This is Ghana for you. So funny. So funny. Next slide. Now, if you look at the whole closure bit, it's been 5 months since the closure. The hospital authorities blamed the closure on, guess what? The removal of tax and excise duty exemptions on medical consumables. This resulted in a debt that we've been grappling with, 4 million Ghana cedis. And guess what? About 19 renal patients have died. Died. How do we account for them? Next slide. Now, even as we move away from the health bit, you must note that, of course, the health crisis we are facing, whether it is the fleeing of health professionals from Ghana to other places to seek, greener pastures, or the renal department's problems, it all has to do with our ailing economy. And that's why I'm tying both of them, the strands together today. So another worrisome aspect of what is happening today is that we have failed to meet the requirements, the deadline, as far as our IMF deal is concerned. Getting the second tranche. By November the 1st, we should have put in place all mechanisms to meet the deadline. We haven't, and here is why. Here's a breakdown. If you look at the board date, board approval of the extended credit facility, the amounts are all in millions of dollars. So you'll see that board approval for 600 million, which we've received. November the 1st, 2023, we're supposed to have the observance of end June 2023 performance criteria completion of the first review to receive the next tranche of 600 million. On May the 1st, 2024, then we'll get another 360 million on the back of those same observances. November the 1st, 2024, again, based on the June 2024 performance criteria, then we'll get 360 million. And then in May 2025, again, on the back of saying 360 million. But there are a few more. Let's go to the next slide. Let's go to the next slide, please. In October 2025, on the back of the same observances, another 360 million, and in April, another 360 million, giving you the sum of $3,000 million, which is basically $3 billion. Next slide. But what has been the tail of the tape? The staff level agreement of the first review, tick, we're good to go. But since then, we've had problems. And mind you, we've got to the point where we've spoken to the Paris Club, our Chinese creditors, hoping to arrive at some agreement, 30 to 40% agreement with them for a haircut. And that still remains in limbo. So the specific agreement with official creditors, that's a no, red card. Approval of the first review by the IMF board, that too is in limbo. We've had different dynamics hearing from, the information minister and others, but this is our reality. And this is where we are. And if we don't get our act together, we're not getting any money. Next slide. So does Ghana have the agreement yet? Oh, you can read it. The answer is a no. Absolute no. And especially entering this season, Christmas is approaching, prices will skyrocket, the dollar is already going up there, the pound is around 15 cedis. You know what this means. If we don't get those $600 million to shore up our economy, to stabilize the economy, if it comes to foreign currency, the inflows and the outflows, we're going to have a headache, in fact, a migraine. So we need that money because our economy is on life support. It's in the emergency ward and we need it. But we've not fulfilled the requirements. Like the Bible will say, you must fulfill all righteousness. We've not fulfilled all financial righteousness. We're in the lurch right now. Next slide. So in terms of the external debt restructuring, what Ghana wants is this, what you see here. 30 to 40% of a haircut for commercial creditors. Now, who would do this anyway? It's not the easiest thing to do, and this makes you lose your credibility. In fact, it's expected to restructure about $20.5 billion of our debt and grant debt service relief of about $10.5 billion. Next slide. Now, we also need to take stock in this final bit of the recommendations that we've been given from institutions like ISA. It has told us the 30 to 40% haircut on Eurobonds will drive down investor confidence, which will take a long time to restore. So as we do all of this, the consequences wait for us right down the road. Right down the road. We'll pay through the nose for the mistakes we have made. Ensure responsible borrowing. As for the borrowing, my mom and Sasso, I give up. Until our belts were tightened to the point where everybody said, you know what, we are not giving you any more money. We were borrowing as though there were no tomorrow. You in your home. In fact, let me ask the politicians. The wanton borrowing we've engaged in, would we engage in that kind of borrowing for ourselves, for our families, to do this or that? We would have realized that no, our debt is getting to a point that is unsustainable, so we wouldn't do it. But because we treat the country like, oh, ɛyɛ aban sika, ɛyɛ aban deɛ, yɛmfa yɛn nsa mbom, yɛn nsa ne yɛn nan ne yɛdidi, ne yɛn fom. Ɛne yɛn nnɛ. This is where we are. And that debt will be paid by us, our children, their children, and the children to come. That is what these misleaders have done to us. And finally, lessons from the painful domestic debt exchange program should inform our spending habits going into the 2024 elections. That's where I'll cap it off. Are we seeing that? The 4 million Ghana cedis for the renal department, it's 8 V8 vehicles. In some cases, 6 V8 vehicles. Priorities. We don't have them right. I come and stand here every Friday and do this to set the record straight and to let you know, in that order of preference, where we are focusing. Our country is in a dire situation. And if we don't do something, like I said, an old fool is the worst of fools. Let's awaken. All of us, I'm not excluding myself, all of us, let's shine our eyes, like Oyibo man will say, let's wake up. Because Ghana is going down. And if we don't do something, our motherland, the only land we have, will be gone. My name is Benjamin Akapu. These are my blunt thoughts for you, shared raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. God richly bless Ghana and make her great and strong.